What kind of reality are we living in? Are we living in a matrix? One that has been created for us by something other than us? One that is beyond our capacity for understanding? Are we the product of and slave to something or someone bigger and better than ourselves, whether that be the cold and impersonal processes of abstract truth or a virtual reality created by some cosmic being? Let's be clear. The reality that is of most concern to me is inevitably the one that I experience. If your or mine or anybody else's theory helps me understand and be coherent with my experience of existing, then I give my heartfelt thanks for that. The truth of our consensus reality, while we are self-polarized, is that it is the most widely agreed upon version of reality that we have managed to come up with in the absence of us knowing the foundational truth. And our consensus reality is a dynamic and uncertain conglomeration of our individual best understandings so far about reality. We cohabit shared realities together by agreement. Take note of this word, agreement. It is a key term when it comes to understanding coherency. When we are eternal and we are seamlessly one with all existence, even as we simultaneously occupy our own unique location and form in space and time as an individual self, and find ourselves surrounded by countless other selves in the very same situation, it all comes down to agreement. Reality comes down to agreement. The coherency of one's reality comes down to agreement. The agreement of what is within you with that which is outside of you. Whatever reality you occupy, it is one that you were invited into, and you agreed to accept that invitation and enter. And though you may not have understood it at the time, and may find it hard to believe and accept now, it was you who both made and accepted the invitation. Yes, of course, you can make the case that it was parents, family, society that made the initial invitations into the culture of lies when you didn't know any better. And this has been the case for all of us. But the truth to be learned as one grows up is that when somebody invites you to believe something, such as your parents inviting you to believe that you will be loved and accepted if you behave in certain ways, or your school inviting you to believe there is such a thing as less than zero. Before that invitation can be accepted, one must first invite oneself to entertain the invitation, the belief, the worldview. The matrix is not a deterministic construct designed by an intelligence that knows the truth, but the evolving consensus reality of a collective that does not know the truth and is simply trying the best it can in the face of that. Our consensus reality does not pretend to be coherent, only useful for engineering. And as a collective, we have broadly agreed to live in this highly disagreeable reality, because peer pressure can feel extremely compelling. We have come to live by the principle of majority knows best. And it just ain't necessarily so. It is actually perfectly possible for the majority to be incorrect. It is perfectly possible for everybody to be incorrect. Human history shows this very clearly. Those who have thought that I have thought I am in some way bigger or better than them, and then deemed it natural and fitting that they punish me for it. Their mistake is that it is they who believe they are somehow less than me. And for sure, they truly do punish themselves for that. But I realize that I am nothing more than 3 zeros. I am equilibrium. I never cancel out to more than this. I never cancel out to less than this. 3 zeros is what I cancel out to, same as everybody else. And so, it is not possible for anybody to be less than me, and it is not possible for anybody to be more than me. It really does come down to us all just taking care of our own personal, eternal shit as best we can. Are you one of those who see yourselves as being trapped by and wishing to be freed from the Matrix? That you are just trying to get by as best you can in a world whose rules were written by somebody else? If you are, then just step out of it. You can view yourself as a product of the Matrix, the product of a piece of deterministic programming that imprisons, owns, and controls you. And if you do, then naturally you will act accordingly. Or you can recognize the truth of the fact that you are the decider of your eternal future, and then act accordingly. It is not a case of, is truth a deterministic program, or is it a beautiful and conscious living mystery? Truth is both. Truth is both. Truth lives because truth has no choice but to live, to iterate. Otherwise it would not be truth, in which case it simply would not be at all. This is deterministic. It is objective. And the subjective truth of that, as a lived experience, is entirely a beautiful and conscious living mystery, because it takes place at high levels of resolution, an infinite resolution of self-differentiation, which are impossible to calculate precisely because they are infinitely complex. The infinitely complex cannot be calculated with precision by anybody or anything. It can only work itself out. And that's all any of us can do. Existence is half matrix, half eternal free will. It is the simple half, the deterministic half, and the complex half, the magical and mysterious half, occupying the same space together at the same time. And it is when the two halves recognize each other as two halves of a coherent whole that all heaven breaks loose. Stepping out of the matrix is the art of stepping out of that which surrounds and infiltrates you by agreement, by your agreement, the culture of lies, and just leaving it behind and moving on, simply leaving it to its own devices. The choice to do this is one of choosing where I direct my energy in the form of my attention and choices. And it can feel like this choice of stepping out is the choice of for or against the matrix, for or against the culture of lies. But this is not the choice. Because whether I am for or against the culture, I'm still directing my energy towards it. I'm still giving it my sincere attention and basing my choices off it, whether identifying it as the problem or the solution. And the culture of lies grows fat on the attention and belief of its members. This is its actual fuel. So to be against it is, effectively, to be for it, to feed it. To step out of being a member of the culture of lies, I need to stop being either for or against it. Let's take the example of whether one believes we should enforce the right of free speech, or we should enforce the punishment of those who use language in a way that upsets other people. Both of these beliefs are held in high regard by our society these days. In truth, whichever of these two options we choose, we are choosing the culture of lies, the culture of enforcing our invented moral codes on each other. We can be told that we must choose between the red pill or the blue pill, that we can submit to the matrix or we can fight it. But this is the lie. I can decline both pills and eat some fresh fruit and vegetables. Just watch me. In the movie The Matrix, it is Morpheus, not Agent Smith, who represents the Matrix, the devil, the shadow controller. In the Greek pantheon, Morpheus is the god of dreams, not the god of waking up. He doesn't offer Neo one pill to remain asleep and one to wake up. He offers two options of staying asleep in the form of two differently flavoured dreams. One in which you are a slave to the Matrix, and one in which you are at war with the Matrix. The culture of lies is hungry for our energy, our attention, our belief, and it is all the same to the culture whether we are strongly for it or strongly against it. What the culture of lies instinctively wishes to avoid at all costs is that we don't take it seriously at all. I look at the red pill and the blue pill that are being offered to me, and then I allow my attention to wander. I notice there is sunlight coming through the window, along with the sound of birdsong. I stand up, leave both pills where they are, and I go outside and take a look at what else this world, this life, this existence has to offer me. I suspect there may be some fresh fruits and vegetables out there. A core challenge for one who is stepping out of the culture of lies is, yes, you have identified what you don't wish to give your attention, your energy, your life energy to, and this is well and good. But what does it make sense for you to give your life to instead? What shall you think about now, when the great majority of your life so far has been spent thinking and dwelling on lies? Do you remember being a child? Do you know what it is that a child does naturally, that the self-polarized adult has forgotten because it has been programmed out of them? A child knows how to give to their self. If a child feels something must change in order for them to be content, then they will recognize that easily and without inhibition. Do you remember being a child? Do you remember the power of not yet having been culturalized? You can walk out of your door and choose from a huge variety of possible directions and a huge variety of possible actions, because the living unified field is infinite in all directions. Imagine you've just stepped out of this icky goo called the culture of lies, which has coated you like an oil slick for the longest time, ever since they put you in it when you were a child. And now you're stepping out of your door as a child again, a child who has had enough of that icky goo game, wiped that oil slick off them, and is ready for something else. And you simply allow that almost everybody else is still playing in it, while you go off and find something sweeter, something that makes sense to you. The others will get tired of their icky game, or not, but some of them are bound to get out and come and play with you sooner or later, because they can see you're just having a way better time since you left that slick and the people in it to their own devices. Let the socio-political world around you take care of or destroy itself and move your full attention to shaping your personal eternity. Because truly, that is the one that is most massively significant to you. Here is my guide to eternal existence for children and their parents. How to do it. Start. Enjoy both the successes and the failures. Learn from both. Start. When to do it. When you desire. When not to do it when you really don't want to. Have fun with your eternity and don't let the child be harmed. You'll be fine.